This is our next Excel lab video. This is on using some of the formulas and doing some descriptive statistics in Excel. This will be for Excel Lab 2. Now, most of what I'm showing you in here today, you should have no problem doing the same exact things in the web version of Excel if you prefer to use that. I'm going to use the desktop version here, but again, if you prefer to use the web version, everything here should be the same. You will find most of the things in the same places. If you are in the web version and you would like to go to the desktop version like I am in here, remember you just click on the editing button in the middle and then choose open in desktop. So I preloaded a few pieces of data in here so that we can use that to work with. You can pretend these are like test scores, and I'm recording the test scores here. So you'll just want to take a minute to pause the video if you would like to work along with me, to pause the video and type in these numbers for yourself. Once you have them typed in, I'm going to teach you how to do a whole bunch of different descriptive statistics. Now, in order to get us set up to do the calculations, we also want to always label the things that we do in terms of, we don't want just like a bunch of calculated numbers hanging out here and we don't know what they are. So I'm going to set up some labels. First, we're going to do the mean, then the median, the mode, and then we're also going to do the mid-range. So we're going to do your 4 measures of center. So the first thing we're going to do to find the mean, these are just labels that I typed in, so you would just type those in. I'm going to go into the empty box next to mean, and I'm going to click on where it says formulas at the top. Now, Excel has built-in formulas here, which are pretty cool, and they're sorted by topic, but probably the easiest way to find any formula that you need is to click on where it says FX insert function. And it'll bring up a search box here where you can search for any different function that you would like. Now you might see different ones here on your recently used. We're going to search for mean. Now when you search for mean, just the word here, you'll notice it gives you all these different things. Those are actually not what we would like, any of those. So probably the first one here is one of the trickier ones. You have to remember that when you're looking for a mean in Excel, you're actually going to type in average. So in this first box here, we're going to type average. Remember, mean is sort of like an average. We're going to hit go. And then you're going to see the first one on the list here. It comes up with some other things that are also averages, but 99% of the time, you're going to be picking just the first one on the list here. Either double click it or click it in blue and then click OK. And you'll get this box here that is pre-programmed to figure out the mean or the average of any numbers that you tell it. So you're going to go over here in this, it's already in number 1 box here. You're going to go and just click and drag down your data. So you get these running dashes around it and it'll say A1 to A20. In other words, all the numbers that it found in boxes A1 to A20. You don't need to put anything in the second box. That's only if you want to do another set of numbers at the same time. And then you're going to click OK, and it's going to calculate the mean for you, just like that. In the background, it added up all the numbers and it divided by 20 because it counted 20 in the list and it gave us the answer. Same thing you would get as if you did it by hand. We're going to do a similar thing for median. So let's click down on the box for median. Let's go to insert function. This one will type the actual word median in my search box. I'll hit go. I've got median here. Hit OK. And you see a similar function box here where I just have to go over and click and drag down my data. And I don't need to fill in anything in the second box. That's only if you want to do another list of numbers at the same time. So I just have to click OK now. And it correctly found the median for us. Now you might be thinking, whoa, it looks like 100 or 85 is in the middle. That's because my data is not in order. And the cool thing about this median function is the data over here does not have to be in order for it to calculate the median correctly. That's programmed as part of the formula that it'll reorder the numbers and correctly find the middle piece for you. Same thing you should get if you do it by hand. We're also going to do a similar thing for the mode. And we'll just type it in our search box here, hit go, and we'll find mode in our list. And a similar type of function box comes up. We're going to grab our data one more time and hit OK. And it'll go through and it'll find the first value that it gets to that occurs more frequently than anything else. So you can see in my list here that 97 was the first number that it got to twice. There are actually more than one mode in this data. The number 81 also occurs twice, as well as 83. And there's one more that I'm missing. There's one more number that also occurs twice. So be aware that because you only have one box here, it's only going to give you one mode, the first one that it gets to. If your data was in order, for example, it would give you the lowest mode because that's the first one it gets to. I would recommend that if you ever have to find the mode, that's just as easy to do it by hand, especially if you order the data over here, which I will remind you how to do shortly, because you might be missing if there's multiple modes. If it doesn't find a mode, it'll just get an NA in this box, like doesn't exist, not applicable. Now mid-range, I'm going to skip for just a moment because we're going to have to create our own formula for that uses the lowest and the highest number. And I'm going to teach you how to do that next. So we're going to find the low value. Let's call that the min. Put low here in parentheses. And we're going to find the highest value. We'll call that the max. And that's because that's the function names. By the way, if I ever go too fast in these videos, you are more than welcome to pause and rewind and watch any of these instructions as many times as you need to. So let's find the min and the max. Let's go to insert function. In the search box, we'll type min, hit go. Again, it's just the first one on the list here, and we'll hit OK. Just like we did all the other ones, same kind of idea. Grab your data. Don't have to put anything in the second box and hit OK. It'll search through and it'll find for you the lowest number, which here was 33. We're going to do the same thing for the max. We're going to click on insert function. This time we're going to type max. Click on max here. Grab our numbers and hit OK. It'll search through and it'll find the highest. So the lowest score on the test was 33, the highest was 100, the average score was 82.55, the middle score was 84, and one of the most frequent scores is 97. Okay, so we're going to show you a couple more of those built-in functions, but let's take a pause for a moment. I'm going to teach you how to do your own function. So if you try to search in that function, insert function for mid-range, it would not come up. That one doesn't exist in there. But the nice part about Excel is actually a calculator if you want it to be. And you can type your own formulas in here just like you would type them into a calculator. The trick is to type your own formulas, you're going to start by typing an equal sign. And then you're going to put in here exactly what you would put in your calculator and then hit enter at the end and it'll calculate for you. So it's kind of just like how you would use your calculator, except you start with the equal sign instead of ending with the equal sign. So we know the mid-range is the average of the lowest and the highest value. The formula is low plus high divided by 2. We want it to add before it divides. So we're going to use parentheses. Now we could just type in 33 plus 100 divided by 2. However, I'm going to show you something really cool about these formulas and why I took a moment to find the min and the max via formula first. I know it's not that hard to kind of scan through and just find those numbers on your own by just looking at it. I'm going to click on the low value, the 33 box, not the word low, but the value here. And you'll notice what it pasted in this box here is D6. In other words, it's saying it's going to use whatever numbers in this box, whether it's 33 or something else. Right now we know it's 33. Then I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to click on the high value box. It's going to kind of do the same thing with that calling up the cell. I'm going to close my parentheses. Divided by in Excel is the slash, so divided by 2. Now it looks kind of funky right now, but when we hit enter, it's going to go ahead and actually calculate that number by doing 33 plus 100 divided by 2, enter here, and give us the calculated value of 66.5. So that is how you can create your own formula instead of using a built-in formula. You could do that same thing like for the mean, for example. You could do equals, and you can add up all those numbers divided by 20, and would get you the same value here. Now, one thing that's kind of cool is, yes, we see all the numbers here, but when I hover or I click on these boxes, I also see the formulas that were used. So I use the average function here, the median, mode, mid-range, I can see what I clicked on, etc. That's called your formula bar. You can also see the formulas by going into your formulas tab and clicking on show formulas. It's in a little different spot in the web version, but there should be a show formulas. And you can see all the formulas in the background here. Now, you didn't get rid of your work. When you unclick that, it'll go back to normal. So you can always double check your formulas. Now, the reason why I showed you that we should click on the boxes for 33 and 100 instead of actually typing in 33 and 100 is if you type in the numbers, it remains static. It's always going to use 33 and 100. What one of the cool features of Excel is that it's automatically error correcting. So say, for example, I was typing in these test scores and I realized that nobody really got a 33. That was actually supposed to be an 83, maybe, for example. So if I go over here and I change it to an 83, watch what happens to all my formulas. They all mostly changed. The mean went up a little bit. The median stayed the same because that value actually didn't change where the median fell. The mode now updated to 83 because that's the new most frequent value. Our max is still 100, but now without that 33, the new min is 64. And so that fixed our mid-range. It's the same formula here, but instead of using the 33, it's now using the 64 instead. So when I updated my data over here, it also fixed all of my formulas for me automatically. You don't have to go through and do all your formula work again. So I think that's a really cool feature, and that only works if you use the built-in formulas, or when you're typing your own formula, you click on boxes that maybe use a built-in formula instead of typing the numbers in. I'm going to undo and go back to my original numbers, and we'll just work with the original numbers here, but I wanted to show you that cool process. Let's see, let's also do, since the low and the high are part of the 5-number summary, let's also do our 3 quartiles, the other parts of the 5-number summary, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Just typing labels. For the quartiles, they all use the same built-in formula. We're going to go back to our formulas tab if you're not still there. We're going to click on insert function, and we're going to type the word quartile. Quart and tile all smushed together. Hit go. And you just want the first one on the list again. Now this one, we're actually going to use both boxes here. So the first thing where it says array, that's still just your data. We're going to go over here and grab our data. In the second box, though, we're going to tell it which quartile to do. So since we're doing Q1, we're going to type in a 1. Not Q1, just literally type in the 1. So you're doing quartile 1. We're going to use the same formula to do quartile 2 and 3. We'll just type in a 2 for quartile 2 and a 3 for quartile 3. You could also use this formula to find the min and the max by using 0 for the quartile, and that would be the min, or 4 for the quartile would do the max. So that's another way of finding the low and the high value. So when I hit OK, it will give us the first quartile here. Again, our data does not have to be in order for it to get the right value there. However, do note that when you do the quartile function in Excel, it's programmed a little differently than when you do it by hand, where it includes the median in the calculation. And so your Q1 number will come out a little bit higher than when you do it by hand, and your Q3 number will come out a little bit lower than when you do it by hand. That's okay, that's just how Excel is programmed. When you are doing these types of problems on the homework, if you're using this for the homework as well, it will accept either the by hand answer or the slightly different Excel answer, knowing that there is a little different way of calculating it here. When you're doing this on your Excel lab, you're just using the Excel formula, so don't even worry about how it would come out by hand. Let's finish quartile 2 and 3 by doing the same insert function. It's actually right on your recently used list now, but you can type it in again. I'm just going to go OK here. Remember, your data is just your array. Click on the second box, and since we're doing the second quartile, we'll put a 2 in there. And that should give you the same value as the median because we know quartile 2 and median are the same number. So that would be another way to find your median. And we'll do it one more time. It's right on our list here, so we'll hit OK. Grab our data, and we'll put in a 3 for quartile 3. Okay, so there's our 5-number summary. Some measures of dispersion. Let's do the range. Regular range, that's different than mid-range, remember? The variance and the standard deviation. And I'm purposely abbreviating variance and standard deviation by the way the formula is written in Excel. So for the regular range, this one's kind of like mid-range. There's no built-in formula for it. We're going to create our own. Remember, when you create your own, we're going to start with an equal sign. And then we're going to click on the numbers that we would use. Remember, regular range is high minus low. So we're going to click on our highest value minus our lowest value. Just the same ones that we used for mid-range, but remember the formula is just high minus low. And hit enter. Again, you could type the 100 minus 33, but if you ever have to fix anything in your data, it won't fix it for you. By using these boxes, if these numbers ever change because you fixed your data, it will also update our range for us. So we'll go ahead and subtract those for us. I know you can do that by hand, but I'm showing you how to do it in Excel. Now, variance and standard deviation have their own built-in formulas. We're going to use insert function. For variance, just type var like you see here. And you just want the first one in the list. Do note here that there is another version of variance, var.s, that finds the sample variance. That's what we're doing. This is the same thing. But there's another one here, var.p. The formula for the variance and standard deviation for a population is slightly different than the formula for the variance and standard deviation of a sample. So if you are ever working with a population, you're going to want to choose .p for population. We have a sample, so we're going to stick with the regular variance here and hit OK. This goes back to kind of like the original formulas that we did. We're just going to highlight our data in the number 1 box here. You don't need to put anything in the number 2 box unless you have another list of data you want to do at the same time. Hit OK. In the background, it will calculate for you all of those steps that it takes to get the variance. That's all programmed into the background. And the same thing would be true for the standard deviation. We're going to go to insert function. We're going to type STDEV, just like I abbreviated here. Hit go. And the same thing to be aware of. We're going to just pick the first one, or .s for sample. But if you're doing a population, pick .p for population. And we're going to highlight our data. Don't have to put anything in the second box and hit OK. Now you'll see this number is longer here. Gives you kind of a preview. You don't see as much of it in the box here because the box is not big enough. If I make this column bigger, you'll see more decimal places. If I make it smaller, you'll see less decimal places. Another way to update the amount of decimal places is to click on the number that you want to round. Don't round it by hand and retype it, because say I wanted to make this have like 1 decimal place, 15.2. If I do that, right now I can see that it's standard deviation in my formula bar. If I retype it on my own, it will get rid of the formula. Okay, I don't want to do that, so let's undo. If I want it to round but preserve the formula, I'm going to go to my home tab and I'm going to click on, in this kind of general area here, number, I'm going to decrease the decimal until I see how many decimal places I want, and it'll round it for me along the way. So I'm going to click it until I see 1 decimal place, for example, and see the formula is still there and it rounded it correctly. One more way to find the standard deviation is to find the square root of variance, if you remember that. So another formula that you can be aware of is in the insert function, formulas tab, insert function. If you type SQRT, so like the word square root, but without any vowels, and hit go, and hit OK, that will square root a number for you. Since standard deviation is the square root of the variance, you just click on the one number that you want to take the square root of. So let's click on the variance number. That's what we want to take the square root of. And it will square root for us the variance and give us the same standard deviation. So either way is totally fine. Again, I can round using that little option here in the Home tab, if needed. Last couple of things I want to show you are some of the other things that you could do with the quartiles. You could find the IQR. You can find the fences, the upper and lower fence. And that helps you remember to find outliers. And one last thing, I'll also show you a couple percentiles. Let's do like the 30th percentile and 75th percentile, for example. Let's go back to these first ones here though. So I just typed labels. Again, you can put these labels wherever you want. So IQR, upper and lower fence are going to be create your own formulas. These are not built into Excel. IQR, remember, is just the difference between the first and the third quartile. So Q3 minus Q1. So I'm going to do it kind of like the range. I'm going to start with an equal sign, but instead of clicking on the low and the high, you click on the low and the high quartile, the numbers here that we calculated. So I'm going to click on the box where Q3's number is minus Q1. That's my IQR, interquartile range. For the upper fence, the formula, again, we're making our own formula, so we have to start with an equal sign. The formula for upper fence is Q3, so click on Q3, plus parentheses 1.5 times, now the times is the asterisk, which is above your number 8 on your keyboard, or you might have it on your number pad, times the IQR number. So I'm going to click on the IQR number and close up my parentheses. So again, the formula for upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. That's what I did here. And the lower fence is the same, but we're going to start with an equal sign. We click on the Q1 instead, and we do minus 1.5 times the IQR. Okay, so the same formulas you would do by hand or put in your calculator, we're just typing them into Excel and we're clicking on the boxes. Remember, use the fences to tell if there's any outliers. We do not have any outliers on the upper side here because there's nothing above 115. However, on the lower side, we have the 33, and that is lower than the lower fence. So 33 is an outlier. It doesn't fit with the rest of our data. Maybe that's somebody that hasn't been doing the work in class. Everybody else is doing pretty good on the exam, scoring in the 70s and above, mostly in the 80s actually, except for this one person here in the 30s. One last thing, percentiles. Percentiles you don't have to do by hand. You would need at least 100 pieces of data to do a percentile by hand. We are going to use a built-in formula. So we're going to go back to our formulas, insert function. We're going to type the word percentile. So it's like the word percent and tile all smushed together. Just pick the first one on your list here. Kind of like the quartile one. Array is grab your data. And then K is which percentile you want to do. So say you want to do the 30th percentile, we're going to type in 30, but you got to type it in as a decimal, like 30%. So as a decimal, 0.30. So that tells us that 30% of our scores are below 80.4. The other 70% of our scores are above that number. Let's try another one, P75. Let's do the same insert function. We can use percentile, that's right on our list already. Array is our data. And this time if we're doing the 75th percentile, whatever percentile you want to do, but 75th would be 0.75. Remember that the 75th percentile is the same as Q3. That's why I picked that one. So you can see that it matches. All right, so those are some different things that you can do at Excel with some of the descriptive statistics that we've learned. Some of them using built-in formulas in the insert function tab. Some of them by creating our own formulas by typing in an equal sign. I also showed you how to round the numbers. I showed you how to, in the formulas tab, check out your formulas or go back to normal here. As a reminder, in your home tab, if you want to order up your data quickly for whatever purpose, maybe to double check your mode or to find your low and your high, you can just grab all your numbers here, highlight them in gray, just the first number will stay in white. go to A to Z sort and filter. That's in our home tab. We can sort it whichever way we would like. So say I do smallest to largest. And that puts all our numbers in order. Notice the only thing that changed here is the mode because it got to the 81 first, but nothing else changed. In other words, having your data in order does not affect your formulas. That's all built into those formulas. If you want to do the quartiles by hand or the median by hand, you, excuse me, you wouldn't need your numbers in order first. So keep that in mind. Okay, all of this is on Excel Lab 2. You're going to be using a set of real tuition data that'll be provided to you. You can open it right from Blackboard. It'll load it up into Excel. You don't have to type it in. You can just open it and then use that data. You're not going to do all of these different formulas, but you're going to do some of these. It'll walk you through it again on the lab, some built-in formulas, some create your own. And then based on what you find, you're going to have some written questions to answer to find out what happened with the data and, kind of explain what you noticed about it. And that will all be saved and attached to the Dropbox for Excel Lab 2. As always, if you have any questions, please check in with me. Check in with me early, work on these labs early. Don't wait until the last minute because I won't be able to help you when it's really close to the due date for the lab. But before that time, I am more than happy to check over what you're doing and answer any questions that you have. Next up for Excel labs will be one on some probability stuff. So that won't be coming for a little bit yet, but that'll be our next Excel video. Have a good day, everyone.